Is there maybe a number that worries you right now in your business?
Yeah, so inside of my business right now, right, the number that worries me the most, or the number that just I think about the most, is typically our overhead. Okay, I think there is this constant, thought of, is our current overhead in the business stretching us too far? Or am I at just the right investment to then propel us to our next stage of growth, right? And I don't see this worry as a bad thing, right? I see that tension, right? That, I would call it a very mild anxiety around, am I making the right investments or wrong, as just being really just a healthy tension that exists as you're growing a business, right? I would almost feel weird if I was, hiring a few people over the last month and looking at an overhead that was, say, 280 grand a month and just being like, oh, well, feels all fine to me, right? I've always just learned that, and this is something that I've learned from a couple books, one that Steve Jobs actually has recommended, which is called Only the Paranoid Survive, by Andy Grove, the famous CEO of Intel. Now, I don't think it's healthy to be paranoid all the time, right? But again, this mild bit of worry, just, really causing you to be diligent, right? Looking over every rock. How can you save money? Are you making sure that those bets that you made 2 months ago are actually paying off? Are you being clear with a new hire as to how they're actually going to go and drive cash flows to your business and not just be, in some high paying job in your company? I think, that's really how I think about it. So if anything, that's something I think about. But I think my way of kind of then actioning it is a healthy approach to just building a strong, formidable business. And, this is how I've been able to build, my portfolio to a, operating margin of 60% plus consistently over the last decade.
What do you think is the hidden overhead killing most of the 2 or 3 million businesses? Is it people, complexity, or bad incentives? What do you think?
The hidden overhead that I see going and impacting most founders that are doing over $3 million a year is typically the overhead of just not being surrounded by other people that have done numbers bigger than them, okay? There's like an ignorance there that they don't realize, okay? When I ask them, what entrepreneur are you currently referencing to go and get to that next stage of growth? Or is there a company that you're looking at that has gone and done what you're trying to do? They can't answer it. And the key thing here to understand is that the ultimate cheat code in entrepreneurship is having some reference, some entrepreneur that is 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of you, that you can just copy their playbooks, copy their systems, and learn from their mistakes, and then just implement those in your business. I know for FounderOS, I have 10, 15 references. I have an executive coach, Ryan, who's built a similar business to FounderOS and exited it for $80 million. And so I'm chatting with Ryan every week and then learning what he did in certain moments and then just copying those things in my business so I don't make those mistakes. I have a friend, Dickie, who's built a similar business in a different sort of space. And we're constantly trading notes as peers as to what's working and not working, right? And so the key thing here is that you need to have almost like a personal board of advisors, right? We're talking peers, mentors, different masterminds you're in, communities you're a part of, where you can jam with folks that are ahead of where you're at now, right? So that you're thinking bigger, you're avoiding the mistakes and perils that may have paralyzed other founders, and you're able to go and grow in a way that's smooth and peaceful versus feeling like you're all alone and just guessing. So if there's one ultimate hack, right, that I think gets them over this hidden overhead, it is having a community of folks that are ahead of where you're at right now so you can copy their playbooks.